Oh man, what a summer I've had. 150-mile-an-hour trip over the mountain on the Isle of Man on the supercharged Kawasaki H2SX. That was cool. I got to go to Santa Pod and run 12-second quarters on the very cool Kawasaki Z900 RS. There's a little bit of a green theme that you might be picking up on here, and Kawasaki UK themselves have picked up on it and sent us another green bike. This time we're going to the budget end of the biking scale. We're off to have an adventure on the baby Kawasaki Versys-X. So what does a bike need to sit in that bustling and very busy adventure bike sector of the market? Well, it needs long legs, it needs a bit of kind of rugged, go anywhere appeal, it needs brush guards, it needs decent tank range, it needs storage for all of your swag, your round the world adventure kit. In the case of the Versys-300, it needs to be cheap. So I'm only going to say the word cheap once, we're going to stick to the word budget. That's what this bike represents. You can stick 1,600 quid down, and for £99 a month you're riding a brand new adventure bike. So what's the plan? Well, unfortunately for me, the plan involves as little money as possible. So the producer has given me 50 quid, I think. Come to Go Outdoors down here in Tunbridge. We're going to go in there, buy the cheapest kit that we can find, pack it up into this little adventure bike and go and have ourselves a mini adventure down on the coast. So when it comes to the time that you're putting together your kit list for your mini adventure, it's about striking that perfect balance between what you want and what you need. Obviously you've set your budget, obviously you know how much space you've got on the bike that you're about to use, but it's all about just choosing the right bits so that you're not left wanting in the middle of the night in some cold, damp, soggy field. Now shops like this have got little bits of everything, and like I say, there are things that you want and there are things that you need, and I think I need some 12-volt hair straighteners. So found my first purchase, a 12-pound stove. Anyone can rough it. I don't need to rough it, that's going to fit in the panniers of my little Versys. Stove needs gas. Gas is 7 quid. That's probably 2 or 3 days worth there. I'm going to need me a little spork and a knife, another couple of quid. So far I'm on £21 and I'm literally cooking on gas. So I found something to cook with, now I need to find something to sleep in. So what I'm after now is a tent, and it looks like they've got one here for me, not 45 quid. This one, £30, less than a round of drinks, big enough for me and small enough to go on the bike. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to buy, might just push the budget over 50 quid for the whole lot, is this full factory Kawasaki green 499 whistling kettle. Kawasaki might be able to sell me the bike, and Go Outdoors can sell me all this fancy gear. It's kind of selling me the dream, but eventually the dream needs to become a very, very probably cold reality. So I'm going to stack this kit on here, get it packed onto the bike and head off to go and have an adventure. Mini bike, mini adventure, mini train. It's like we plan this stuff. Oh, that'll do. Right, who's going to help me put my tent up? Here I am. The beginning of the camping part of my adventure. I'm a couple of hours away from home. Home is London. If I stand on tiptoes and look over there, I can see the White Cliffs of Dover. If you've never heard of Lydd, look for Dungeness, a power station on the map. Just come across a tiny little bit and you'll find Lydd. There's a go-kart track, which is really good fun. There's jet skiing going on over here. There's loads of stuff, but there's camping. We've come to camp, and I, more specifically, have been set the challenge of talking about this bike and giving you the specs on it while I build a tent that I've never seen. So if there's one of those comedy cuts and a tent appears down there, it's because I'm bored and frustrated and swearing at what's in this bag. But it's a real thing. We're going to try and do it in one take. I'm going to start taking these bungees off So I can start talking about the ride down here actually. For a 300cc bike, which this is, well, it's a 296cc parallel twin motor that's been lifted from the Ninja 300. That's what powers this little bike. It makes 39 horsepower, it makes 25 newton meters of torque. So the power and torque, they sound feeble, but actually when you get on this thing, it feels a little bit punchier than a Ninja 300, possibly because there's 3 extra teeth on the rear. So they kind of shorten the gearing a little bit. By shorten the gearing, I mean first gear is ridiculously short, and you can be 3rd or 4th gear doing 30 miles an hour by the time you've crossed the junction, if you know what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, get the thing moving, get up through the gears, and you'll start to have some fun on this bike. Come to this bit in a minute. I can also tell you that I absolutely thrap the nuts off it, as I have done pretty much from the day I picked it up, and I've yet to see less than 60 miles to the gallon. So you've got a 17 litre fuel tank and you've got 60 miles plus to the gallon. Some bikes claim to be 200 mile tank range. Some bikes are too uncomfortable to do 200 miles before you need to get off and stretch your legs. But this is a genuine 200 mile easy tank range. I'm already scratching my head about what to do next with this tent. Some pegs there. That fuel range is easy to get at because it's quite a comfortable bike. The seat height is 845 millimeters. The seat's quite hard. It's got a big old screen. It's got handguards over your hands on the bars, so you're quite well protected from the elements. It's quite a comfortable place to sit. Kawasaki have also pitched that it's got this weird kind of ergo adjustability, so you can set the handlebars, the seat, the pegs, move them around and make them fit your body style. As it is, that pretty much suits my just about 6 foot and about 14.5 stone, believe it or not. I am only 14.5 stone. So it's got enough power and pace to lug me and all my kit on this adventure down the A and B roads that we've just done. You need to zing it. You need to rev this bike quite high. I think the rev ceiling is 12,750 revs before the limiter cuts in. If you get a ride on one of these, don't be afraid to absolutely climb up into that upper rev range and you'll have some fun. It is quite entertaining. Why don't we talk about the tyres? They're made by a company called IRC. I've never heard of them either. Plenty of grip from them. 100 by 90 front, 19 inch, and a 17 inch rear that is a 130/80 17 at the rear. I haven't told you that these panniers are hard bolted to the rear of the bike. They're 17 litres in capacity and they're a £400 option. They are very practical in as much as you can get stuff like this, tent, and your stove in it, but I did have a bit of an issue with the fact that they're bolted to the bike, so you can't just get to your destination and unhook them like other bikes and walk off. I've got no idea what I'm doing with this tent. Hang on a sec. It has ABS, it has single disc front and back, 290mm pedal disc at the front and a 220mm at the rear. Interestingly, it's got a 2-piston caliper at the front and the rear, and when you couple those brakes with the assist slipper clutch that it's got, the feel at these levers, they might feel like fairly small, delicate little things in your hands. They're really easy to get stacks of feel from. Brake performance is good, perfectly matched to that unadjustable 41mm fork at the front and the preload adjustable shock at the rear, so there's a tiny bit of adjust. Look, this is starting to look like a tent. Any minute now, I'm going to be able to blag it, climb in here and go to sleep. On the way down here, I got stuck into a little bit of a dice with a guy on a Tiger 800 Triumph. It was only on the straights that he was able to gas away from me. Everywhere else, it was quite nip and tuck. It was really, really good fun. 50, 60 miles an hour. We're not breaking the speed of sound. We're not really breaking the speed limit, but we were having some fun on this thing. If you are in the market for a brand new machine and you are working to a budget and your license isn't ready to go big CC, if you're on an A2 license, bar the BMW G310, this is pretty much all you've got to go and look at. I'll be quite happy if my license was brand new and I wanted to go for that adventure look, climbing on one of these every day and chipping around town. And also in some of the chats I've had with other bikers and people that want to talk about this bike when I stop on it, a lot of them are much older than I am. They're guys that have been riding for their entire lives and their bones are starting to creak and they're starting to not feel as strong and confident as they used to. And these are the people that are looking now to come back down the range and come back to a smaller, more easy to manage and less daunting bike like those big GSs, like those big kind of high power multi-stradas and all the other things that you think you should be chasing after if you're in the market for an adventure bike. Okay, so in no way am I about to lie and just click my fingers and cut to a perfectly built tent with a stove on the go with a little green kettle that I've bought, boiling some water for my pot noodle lunch. Definitely not going to do that at all. So what's the point of all this? Why am I in a field in Kent with a little tent and a little bike having some fun? Well, I think what we wanted to try and do was strike a chord with those people that think that in order to have an adventure on a bike, you need to actually go over there and get that ferry across to France and bugger off to Morocco and find yourself and change your life and spend 2 or 3 weeks rattling around in little villages that you've never seen. You don't need to do that. For most adventure bike owners, the reality is when the whistle blows on a Friday, they've got 2 days to go and find some fun and try and cram that whole adventure lifestyle into 1 or 2 nights away from home. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'll spend the night in here, maybe have a few beers in a bit, get my head down and just kind of ponder life and do all of that stuff that you do when you're having those epic journeys across the world. But tomorrow I'm going to go home, a couple of hours up the road, have a shower, and I'll be back where I started. Anyone can do this kind of thing. It's cost me 20, 50, plus 25 for the pitch. It cost me less than 100 quid, including fuel, for a weekend getaway. For some people, 100 quid is a bar bill for a few mates. For some people, it could be a meal with their family for one night out. For me, this time I've opted to spend my 100 quid of pocket money on a little mini getaway. Kawasaki Versys 300X is undoubtedly the perfect bike for that mini adventure.